Hi everyone. This is the lecture on note taking, and it goes along with the PowerPoint that I have posted directly beneath this, literally in the same little note taking lecture area. It's just right below this. So you can actually just open that up and then you can follow along. I'm just going to be going off my normal lecture that I would do if we were in class. Okay. So the first thing that you need to do is to come prepared. So that's the first slide. Come prepared. You want to have all your pens and pencils, any highlighters. Some people like to have different highlighters. You don't want to be that guy or girl who's like, can I borrow a pencil? Can I borrow a piece of paper too? Because I didn't bring anything, even though this is class and I know I'm supposed to like take notes and learn and stuff. I didn't bring anything with me. Can I just borrow everyone else's stuff? I mean, that might fly like one time, but if you're that person that's doing that every day, that is really uncool because other people have to pay for their supplies. And if you're asking for a free handout, that's pretty rude to do to fellow students, okay? You want to come with a positive attitude. Your attitude is actually the driving force in whether you're going to learn or not. So if you come to class or you come to, I guess, Canvas and go, I hate Canvas, this sucks, I'm never going to learn anything, then guess what? It is going to suck and you are going to learn nothing. And it's going to be just a huge waste of time for you. So instead, try telling yourself, cool, today is the opportunity. I get to learn. I get to go check out my guidance class. It's going to be awesome. So having that positive attitude is going to help you and your brain go, oh, we care about this. This is important to us. And if you care about it and it's important to you, then your brain is more likely to remember it because you're telling your brain it's important. If you tell your brain this sucks, I hate this, then your brain's like, well, this isn't important. Let's just shut off. And that's not what you want, right? You want school to be easier, not more difficult, right? Okay, so next we have any questions from the reading or homework ready to go when you get to class. So ideally, if you're in an actual class, you have read the stuff that you need to read for that week before you even get to the lecture. So that way you have some notes that you've taken while you've read. And we will be going over reading and how to take good notes while you read. So that way you don't have to like reread it or you just like it's a waste of time to read something if you don't have any notes to study off of because you're not going to remember most of what you read. So having notes to study off is really important. So if you do have notes, that means that anything that's confusing to you, just make a little note of that in your notes. So when your teacher says, do you have any questions, you can raise your hand and ask. Okay. You want to sit in class where you can see and hear. And I would say if you're doing an online class, you want to put yourself in a situation where you're not surrounded by, distractions. So you probably want to, like I turned off my phone right now. It's literally off. So there's a bunch of people texting me and calling me, but they can wait a few minutes while I finish my lecture and then I will deal with that situation. So it's important to put yourself in a place where you feel comfortable working. I know I like to be at my desk or at my couch or something like that where I feel comfortable. All right, we're moving on to the next slide, which is to pay attention. So you can't take notes on something that you are not actually paying attention to. So if you start to drift off or your mind starts to wander, then you're not going to be able to take notes on that. And so you're not going to have that to study with and you're going to forget it. All right, so you want to try to clear your mind and remain as focused as you can. If you find yourself drifting away, try to pull yourself back. With online stuff, it's a little easier, but it just sucks to waste a bunch of time. Like you're sitting there doing your online class and you're reading through stuff and you kind of start spacing out and thinking about other stuff. Next thing you know, you wasted like 2 hours and you haven't even finished what you started. And it maybe should have taken you like 20 minutes to read. So sometimes that happens. And if you are that type of person, I strongly suggest you use a timer while you're actually doing your work and say, I've only got an hour to get this done. And set a timer and try to work within that time limit. I think creating a time pressure like that on yourself is going to make you work a little faster and stay more focused. Might work for you. Try it. Try also participating in class discussions. So if there is a discussion, instead of just writing like the bare minimum, like, oh, I'm just going to write the 2 sentences that Dr. Porgy wants me to write here, try to actually respond and really use some of the material in your response. Try reading some of the other responses from other students because you're going to learn a lot from those interactions and from participating. And it will hopefully inspire you and spark your interest in learning more. All right, so next we have the different note-taking styles. There are 5 of them. So I just chose 5 different note-taking styles that actually will help in different note-taking situations. So I don't know that necessarily all of these are perfect for every note-taking situation, but if you have all 5 in your arsenal, like you know how to use all 5 of these, then you've got pretty much every note-taking situation covered. And I also think that depending on your learning style, which we're also learning about this week, we have different learning styles and things about us that determine whether certain note-taking styles are better for us or not. We might find with these 5 that one of them really works for us and maybe we never heard of that before. So please try out each one of these or just make sure you read through very carefully. When you're doing the note-taking assignment this week, you get to pick 2 of them to take notes in. So try to pick 2 that maybe you've never done before. Don't just do like, oh, I know how to do outlines, so I'll just do that. That's lazy. Don't be lazy. Challenge yourself a little bit to learn a new note-taking style that maybe you've never done before. If you are not good at outline or you've never done it before, you can try that one, but I think most of us have done outline before, okay? So let's talk about outline, shall we? Okay, so if you're looking at the outlining slide, the outlining method, it looks kind of like this, and I actually have a little whiteboard I got, but they gave me this really weird pen, and I'm just gonna say no. I have this awesome Expo marker instead. Okay. So outlining, I just wanted to kind of go over this. So basically, you're going to have the most important concepts all the way to, I guess, what would that be? Your left. So all the way to the left of your paper. Okay, so this will be an important concept number 1. I can spell. And then this is another important concept. And then this is another important. Now, under each one of these, your teacher is going to talk about, they'll be like, okay, first important concept is this, and let's talk about the different parts of this. So then you would make those parts into, 3 subcategories, and you could even do further subcategories if you want. But the important part of outlining that I want you to take away from all of this is that the most important concepts are all the way to the left, and then the more indented they are, the less important they are. So when you're studying, you can focus on the important stuff first, then go back and learn the next most important stuff, and then go back and learn the next most important stuff. So that's something that you can do, and that will be helpful to you. All right, so moving on to our next one, which is the Cornell method. And, I forgot my eraser. Give me 1 second. Just gonna grab it real quick. Because, here we go. Gotta be able to wipe it clean and start over. So for Cornell, you're going to have your paper kind of divided up, and the way a paper is set up, it's already kind of divided anyways. Like there's this line that goes here, and I cannot draw straight lines, so sorry. And then you'll have this, and then up here you can write your name, and you want to write, the most important note identifiers on all of your notes. So let me go over that. So you want to write your name, you want to write the teacher's name, or the name of the class is fine too. You want to put the date, which is today's September 4th. And then you also want to write page numbers if you have more than 1 page. So I always start with page 1. That way if your notes get separated, you can always, put them back together again. And then you want to write the topic up here at the top. So I guess today it would be note taking. So you want to do this no matter what type of notes you use, whether you're using outlining, Cornell, concept map, paragraph, any of them, even the picture diagram. You want to make sure you have all this stuff on your notes to help you remember when you took the notes and what order the pages go in and what's the most important stuff. Okay, so, and if you write the topic at the top, then that means you'll know, oh, that was the day we talked about note taking, cool. So on this side, you're going to write, you have your paper here. On this side, you're going to write things like key terms, just like a key term, a keyword, right? Maybe the name of important people, something like that. Questions. All right, over here on this side, you're going to write the definition for that key term. You're going to write what that person did. And questions, you're going to write the answers to. Okay, then at the very bottom of the page, you want to leave like a few lines here at the bottom. You're going to write a, like a 1 to 2 sentence summary of what is on this page. And each page in Cornell should have a 1 to 2 page sentence summary. Why? Well, when you're studying and you go back through everything, you can just read the summaries and decide if that's a page you need to study right now or not. Sometimes, when we're studying, we have kind of an agenda of how we want to do things. So with Cornell, you can see easily what's on the page and go, okay, well, note taking, I kind of understood that pretty well. I'm going to focus on the reading lecture first because I don't know that stuff as well. Okay, so that is Cornell. Then we're going to move to concept map. And concept map is one that honestly, I'm just going to be honest with you, it does not work well for me because I have spatial planning issues. I'm the kind of person that can barely park my car in a parking space without hitting the other cars around me. So planning out a concept map for notes is I run out of space and then it gets kind of complicated. But don't let that discourage you because everybody's different and what works for one person may not work for somebody else. So with concept map, you're just focusing mainly on, just the key terms and how they are related. You're not really putting a lot of definitions and stuff in there, but that's okay because as long as you have the key terms, you can always look up the definition in the book or online or something like that. And the way that this works is by interconnected bubbles, okay? So this is concept map. So today we're talking about notes, right? And so that would be the biggest bubble on here. And then we have all these different note-taking styles. Well, first we talked about what to do, how to prepare. So I'll put preparation, and that will be another little thing. And then I talked about note identifiers. Remember those are your name, the date, the page number, all that stuff. And then we talked about different types of notes like outline. Okay, and so I'm going to make that bubble a little bit bigger than these ones because how big the bubble is tells us how important the concept is. So notes is the most important thing on this page, and then outline is the next most, and then these other two are a little less. So outline, and then we'll put Cornell, and that one should be big too, and then concept map. Sorry about my handwriting there. It's a little bit funky, but basically by the time you're done with the lecture, you'll have a whole page filled up, and you can show how all of these are related. So I could show outline and Cornell are related, and Cornell and concept map are related, and they're all related to notes. So everything's related. You can show relationships between concepts for this, and this works good for things like history, where there's a timeline, a lot of battles, and you got to remember all the battles, and so it might be nice to have something like this for a history lecture, or maybe even an art lecture where they're kind of showing how different paintings are from different periods of time. And I mean, it might be easier just to make a concept map for that. All right, so next we have the paragraph method. And basically, the main point of the paragraph method is to summarize. And so if you're the kind of person that doesn't mind writing a lot and you have pretty good handwriting and your hand doesn't get that tired, then this might be a good thing for you. But if you're someone that struggles with just basic handwriting, this might be a terrible note-taking style for you, and I wouldn't recommend it. So what you do is you listen to your teacher, and every time your teacher switches to a new topic or a new concept, then you're going to start a new paragraph. So I would have multiple paragraphs so far on the lecture we've been doing. I'd have a paragraph on preparation, a paragraph on note identifiers, a paragraph on the different note-taking styles, just in general. And then I would have one for concept map, one for paragraph, one for outline. Okay, so every paragraph will have a new topic. you do not want to write down everything your teacher says because that's way too much writing. It's already going to be a lot just kind of summarizing what they say. Okay? But that's paragraph. So what I don't want, this is very important. So if you want to get all your points for using the paragraph method, please do not make it one giant blob. Because one giant blob, how are you supposed to find anything in there? Okay? So make sure you have a separate paragraph for each concept that is new, that is brought up. And no, it doesn't matter if it's a complete paragraph or not. Like if your teacher just says one sentence about something and then switches to a new paragraph, then just write a one sentence paragraph and move on to the next thing. So that way it's easier for you to figure out, oh yeah, I remember that's what my teacher said. Okay, so ideally reading back over the paragraph notes will allow you to kind of relive the lecture a little bit. And I feel like that would work, paragraph method works really well for someone like me. And then when I can study by reading through my notes and just highlighting the names of the different note-taking styles, highlighting the note identifiers, just highlighting the most important stuff. So that does require that I go back through my notes. Like, you should do that anyways. And if you're not going back through your notes now, then you should start. Okay, so next we have the picture diagram method. And so I'm not going to draw a bunch of pictures, but basically this is how you do it. You listen to the lecture, and as you're listening to your teacher talk, you will draw pictures that are somehow loosely related to what your instructor is talking about. So that means that only you are probably going to be able to decipher what your notes actually mean, because the way you review them is when you go back and look at the pictures, it's going to jog your memory for what the teacher was saying when you drew that picture. Now, some of you guys are like, what? That doesn't sound like a good way to take notes. Honestly, for some people, this is the best way to take notes because I would say if you're a tactile kinesthetic person, we just took the DVC learning styles inventory. If you showed up as a tactile kinesthetic person, I strongly urge you to try the picture diagram method because people who are more hands-on learn better by doing. And so if you're actually drawing or doing something while you're listening to the lecture, and then you have that, piece of paper like, oh, here's my drawings, and you look back over those right away, it will help solidify the memory for the lecture that you heard. And so you don't necessarily need to write everything down to remember it, as long as you have a representation with which you were working on and actually physically interacting with something while you were listening, you're more likely to remember that information later. So you may find that picture diagram method works really well for you, and that's why it's in here, okay? Because a lot of my students are tactile kinesthetic learners. All right, so our next slide is about using abbreviations, okay? So we use abbreviations just to shorten things up. So some of the abbreviations that I use, I will just put like a big question mark next to stuff I don't understand when I'm taking notes. And this goes for during a lecture or during reading. So that way at the end when the teacher goes, does anybody have any questions? You can just look over and go, oh, yep, I do. And then find the question mark I just put it in the margin next to my writing. And then I can easily find my questions and ask those to the teacher. And my teacher's like, oh, she's listening. And it makes me look really good. I put a star next to stuff that's important that I know is going to be on the test. So like if the teacher's like, this is going to be on the test, then yeah, I'm definitely going to put a star next to it because I know that it's going to be on the test and I want to flag it for myself so I can go back and make sure I study that. I don't ever write out like certain words. Like for example, I majored in psychology. Psychology is a really long word to write and a lot of my teachers would say it constantly. So instead of doing that, I would just use this psi symbol. The psi symbol is, just basically a Greek letter that represents psychology. And so every time someone said psychology, I just write this. That saved me a lot of writing. So make up your own abbreviations. As long as you know what they mean, that's what's important. It doesn't really matter what other people think, as long as you know. Okay, so you want to only record, I'm on to the next slide now, only record the most important things. So you want to listen for clues like repetition. So the more your teacher says something over and over again, like make sure you use your note identifiers because those are very important. So when you're doing your assignment, note identifiers are extremely, extremely important for your grade. So when I've said that like 3 or 4 times, hopefully you're picking up on the fact that I keep mentioning note identifiers because I want you to use them in your assignment, okay? You want to listen for what your instructor is passionate about. So if your instructor starts getting like super passionate about a certain topic, then you got to know that's probably going to be on the test. You know, I had a teacher that was really into sudden infant death syndrome. She covered a lot of information on it. She was very passionate because she had an infant that passed away from that. And so because she had lost a child and this was her passion to try to research it, I was pretty sure that most of the stuff she covered on SIDS was going to be on the test. And sure enough, it was. And a lot of the other students did not pick up on that or study it, and they did poorly on the test. So it's really important that you pay attention to what's important to your instructor, okay? And then also listen for transitions. Like your teacher will say things like, okay, well, we're going to summarize, or we're going to go back a little bit, back to this topic, because it seemed like people didn't understand it. Okay, now we're fast forwarding to over here, and we're going to finish up notes. The next topic we're going to talk about is learning styles. Okay, so when you hear your teachers use those transitions, that's when you want to start the new paragraph, or make a new notation, or make a new topic in your notes, or make a new concept map bubble, or start a new picture in your picture diagram notes. Okay, so this next thing I'm going to tell you is life-changing information. Like seriously, life-changing information. I hope you're ready. So this is how it works. I have a little representation. This isn't my real notes, but let's just say that I took all my notes in this book, okay? And so what I want you guys to do is after you take notes on something, and you should be still taking notes, even if this is online and you have access to the lecture later, you don't want to have to go back and watch the whole lecture again. You just want to watch you just want to review the important points. So like right now, it would be helpful if you were taking notes on this lecture. So that way you have something to study off of and you don't have to go back and re-watch everything before the test, right? Okay, so you take your notes and then the first day, let's say like it's the first day of class, I took my notes. Now I'm going to take them home, and within 24 hours, I am going to review my notes. And the aim is to 100% memorize what your notes say. So I would say that first day, maybe go through them 2 or 3 times. Okay, then the next time you take notes, you're going to put that one on top. Okay, so you just put that one right on top of the other one. So now I got a different note here. And what I will do is I will review the newest notes the next time I review, and then I'll go to the older notes and review those. And I'll just keep adding more notes. And every time I add a new set of notes, within 24 hours, I want to review those new notes. 24 hours, because if you wait longer than that, you may not remember a lot of it, and then it's going to be like you're having to relearn it. And you would much rather reinforce something that you just learned than forget about it and have to relearn it again next week. So if you review within 24 hours your notes on whether it's reading or a lecture that you took notes on, either way, within 24 hours, it's going to just kind of help you solidify that information in your brain. Your brain works like this. So your brain works through repetition. So the more you see or hear something, the more likely you are to like it. That's why influencers are so successful, because we tend to go back to them and keep watching their stuff. And every time we watch them, we start to trust them a little bit more. And so when they tell us, like, you should buy this thing, we're like, oh yeah, so-and-so said I should buy this. And we're more likely to go buy that thing because we have an attachment to this person that we've seen a bunch of times. And it works the same way with music. So like, for example, there's a reason why radio stations play the same songs over and over again. They have the top 30, right? And the top 30 songs are played over and over again. So every single hour, you will hear the same songs on the radio if you listen to the radio. And they do this for advertising purposes because they know that the more you hear something, the more likely you are to like it. I was like that with Drake's song Hotline Bling. I really hated that song a lot, but it was on constantly and I was listening to the radio a lot at that time. So when I heard that song, eventually I started to like it. I was surprised. I started to know all the words to it. It is kind of a catchy tune, but I originally just thought it was so dumb and ended up liking it so much that I added it to several of my playlists that I listen to all the time. And I would sing along to this song, and I did not like this song when it came out, okay? It was just I'd heard it so many times. So the same thing goes for notes. The more you review them, the more solidified that information will become in your brain, because your brain will be like, wow, I saw this yesterday and now I'm seeing it again. It must be important. Oh, it's Wednesday. I saw it Monday and Tuesday. I'm seeing it again Wednesday. It must be really important. So if you actually reviewed your notes every single day, a lot of people are like, that would take forever. It doesn't. It actually doesn't. You know what takes a while is the new information, like the newest set of notes that you just added. That takes a while. But then the other ones that you've already reviewed take a lot less time. And by the time you get to the midterm for a particular class, if you've been studying your notes every single day, you barely even have to study for the midterm. It is mind-blowing. So it's really just about how many times have you seen that information before the test. That's going to be a direct correlation, or it will directly show us how well you're going to do on the test. So if you've reviewed the information 100 times before the test, obviously you're going to get a better grade than someone who's only reviewed the information twice. The average student only reviews the information twice before the test. That's terrible. No wonder people get bad grades. So the key is to memorize your notes. Not just kind of know them, not just recognize stuff by sight, but actually memorize your notes. And that might take a little bit from, different types of memory modalities. Like we'll be talking about different memory strategies that you can use to memorize your notes. But for right now, what you should do is just try this in this class, and maybe some other classes you're taking this semester. Just start putting your notes in a notebook. Take notes on the lectures, take notes on the reading, and put those in a notebook, and then study the notebook every day. Now, how long should you study? Guess what? You only need to study like 15 minutes a day. That's it. No more than that. Just 15 minutes a day. And it will change your entire life, because you won't have to stress about midterms and finals, because you already know the information, because you've been exposed to it so many times by then. So I challenge you to do that. All right. So next we have the end of this PowerPoint. And so I do want to say that note-taking is something that everybody does their own way. But for our note-taking assignment, I am going to be grading it based off of how well you follow the directions. And so you'll notice, like right below this lecture, there's actually, the PowerPoint you can download and take a look at anytime you want. But then there's also a really nice example or explanation of how to do the different types of notes. Some of them, like one of them, I know the paragraph format just kind of is a little picture that kind of goes over how to do paragraph notes. Cornell is a little more in-depth. There's a video for the picture diagram. So, there's a lot of different things, but what I want you to do is make sure you go over all 5 of those note-taking strategies. Look at the materials I've given you so you know how to do it correctly, okay? I just did a brief, this is how you do it real quick, but I guess the rest of the information is still there for you, and you need to go through it before you're ready to do the assignment. When you do the assignment, please just choose 2 of the note-taking styles, and you're going to basically watch 2 different videos, and you're going to take notes in one style on one video and the other style on the other video. You can just take it just get a piece of paper and take notes like this with your pen, and then take photos and then upload those photos. That works for me. For some of you who maybe don't have a way to, upload your photos of your notes, you're welcome to do digital notes, but I'm going to say that taking digital notes is actually not as good for your memory, unless that's how you've always taken notes, or that's how you've been taking notes for a long time. It takes a little while to get used to. The other thing is, if you're not a fast typist, you should not be taking, typing notes. If you're a fast typist, feel free. But I would rather see you do it by hand, because I think that there's something about doing it in your handwriting and then memorizing the information in your handwriting that makes it more important to your brain. Like your brain's like, this is in my writing and I am, trying to memorize it every day. This must be important. So you're basically just cluing your brain into, hey, you keep seeing this, it's important, memorize it. And that's really what you want. And so I think if it's in your handwriting, it's going to be a little more powerful than if it's just another wall of text. All right. So hopefully that answers all your questions. Of course, you can always text me if you do have any questions regarding note taking. And that is all. Bye.